Well, I didn't actually expect anyone to show up to this. Not expected at all. Welcome, the damnedest bastard, Paladin Steve, Jeff from Denkar. Chaps, if you would kindly share the YouTube link around, I would very much appreciate it. Specifically the YouTube link, as I'm trying to kind of get the channel to that 1,000 mark. We're only a couple hundred away. Nearly there, nearly there. Hopefully everything sounds okay. I've just realized I've not put any music on. I have done this very much last minute. The old game hermit, welcome. Tell you what, should we get the chat up? Hello everyone. Welcome. Let's see. What do we want? Do you want some nice tavern music? Yeah, that's nice. I think because you're over there, chat-wise, maybe I should think about changing the way the camera is here. And not have it mirrored. There we are, because now I can face you guys. And, you know, I'm looking at the chat now. Isn't that movie magic going on? Oh, it's very warm here. We were supposed to hit a high of about 31 today. I don't think we quite scraped it. But it could just be that we had a bit of rain last night, so it didn't feel quite as bad. Who knows? I've got my my Wayward Realms mug. I'm still shilling for them, completely free of charge. I'm the worst kind of fanboy for them, I think. And I have recently released a new kind of video where it's I try and do an in-character conversation kind of. Explaining what you're going to get into with early access in Wayward Realms, like the first few steps of the adventure and the lore behind the situation that you're going to find yourself in. I think it was quite good, but we'll see. We'll see what other people think. It's doing well, you know. I got to remember, I'm still a very little channel. I can't think too much in terms of grand successes quite yet. It's just not feasible. Well, we've got Michael and Jeffrem are both over there on Rumble. I have got an eye on the Rumble chat. Welcome indeed. See, I really don't pay as much attention to the Rumble channel as maybe I should. I do just treat it as like a backup for streams now. I don't even upload most of the videos on there because it takes a while. It takes bandwidth, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate to say the least. I have no idea what to talk about. I was playing some Rome 2, Total War, and it does this thing where all the battle lines just kind of scatter. There's no organization, no formation, and it's just not as good as the old Rome, so I probably will just download Rome Remastered. Old game hermit, I don't know, man. I don't know, actually, am I? I think I'm up to you. I will have to have a look. Where are you? Here. Oh, Lel Pop. One step at a time on the way to success. Good evening. Good evening indeed. Welcome. Oh, Pop. I'm looking at your icon there, and for some reason I'm being reminded of a rabbit Pokemon. Not Spinder. What's the other one? Baneri? That wasn't really my generation. I played generations 1 and 2, quite a bit of 3. Yeah, I was playing Divide Impera, or you know, the Divide and Conquer one, which is supposed to add back in a lot of population control, but it's just the Warscape engine. It just doesn't handle the melee combat. Plus, battles are really quick. Battles are really quick in terms of, you know, you're doing anime stuff. Maybe that's why I thought it was Pokemon. But I don't know, man. The Warscape engine was all right for Napoleon. It was all right for Empire, even though those games themselves were completely cracked when they first came out. But but Rome, like, well, you need the I think the Angry Joe review back in the day said it most, that empires of the time period lived and died. Where's my music gone? There we go. The empires of the time period lived and died on formation. So when you have all the units suddenly scatter and like pair up to do these little combat animations. It was fine in Medieval 2, but even Medieval 2 had unit collision. I don't know, there's just something about Rome 2 that doesn't quite meld for me. On that point, Warhammer Tabletop can't simulate battles like Total War can. Do we reckon that GW absolutely kicked themselves for ending Warhammer Fantasy just before the video game for Total War released? Because they must have known that the video game was coming sort of in advance, you know? They must have known it would push units. I remember I like Warhammer stuff. I used to play Warhammer Lord of the Rings back in the day, and I wanted to get into fantasy. But the factions that I wanted to play, they didn't really support anymore. I wanted to play Bretonnians, because I'm a sucker for Arthurian stuff, and I can stomach them being French because I like the pageantry of the medieval knights. But they hadn't released a codex update for the Bretonnians in years. And then all of a sudden, the entire setting was nuked in the most horrific way possible for someone's... It kind of reminds me of what happened to World of Warcraft. Someone's OC comes in and just wrecks the setting. Archaon is the OC in terms of Warhammer Fantasy, and the Jailer in terms of World of Warcraft. Yeah, there you go. Apparently it was the partnership, the same fellow Bretonian masochist. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. I always felt that the Bretonians were just more appealing. I like the Empire. I like the Holy Roman Empire parts of it, but I like gunpowder in a sense, but I've got to be in the right mood. Whereas just knights on unicorns, I can always go for. You know, that's kind of my my chicken tenders, so to speak. There you go. That's an American reference. I'm married to an American, don't you know? It's so warm, and to do this, I had to put on a bloody shirt. Because it's... Oh, I'm going to go ahead and repost the people sharing. I do appreciate that. It's so warm, and I put a shirt on and decided to stream to all of, what, 5 people? How many we got of you here? 8 of you now. Welcome. Why? Chimkim Nuggies. Hey, old game hermit. Guess what old game I've been playing an awful lot of? Modded for sure, and using a port to a newer engine, but still a very old game. I don't know how bad the lag is between Restream and YouTube, so I guess we'll see how long it takes people to go back and forth with me in the chat. Let's turn me up a little bit, please, microphone. Windows 11 has this thing where it likes to keep turning the mic down. It's rather annoying. Yeah, Daggerfall. What gave it away? Was it the fact that I've been posting nothing but Daggerfall for a little while? Although, I did recently pick up... let me see if I can find them. I recently picked up Demon's Stone. That was 2004. Because it got re-released today. So, look, Steve, you know, you got to start somewhere, man. Yeah, so I picked up Demon's Stone, which is this old hack and slash beat 'em up kind of PS2 video game based on Dungeons and Dragons. Where you play a fighter, a monk wizard, and a wood elf drow rogue. You wrote an article on Demon's Stone or Daggerfall? If it was Demon's Stone, I'd be very surprised. I think it was quite a small amount of people that played that. Fun fact, Bretonnia went so long without an update that by the end of Fantasy's lifespan, the best foot melee troops were their peasant archers with pikes. I kind of get it because I do a lot of little world building things, for tabletop and for little writing projects that I'll probably never end up releasing. And it's difficult to keep up with stuff. But then again, Games Workshop could have dedicated teams for factions. They have the cash. I think it'd be Daggerfall, yeah. There is no reason at all that Games Workshop should have struggled to maintain their setting. And I'm actually someone that thinks Warhammer in totality is a little bit cringe. I don't. It's not that I dislike Warhammer, either fantasy or 40k. In fact, I quite enjoy Warhammer. It's just there are elements to it that don't appeal to the way I enjoy fantasy or sci-fi. Mr. Bingley, good evening, sir. Welcome. I enjoy more super serial kind of fantasy. I'm not a meme guy when it comes to my roleplay. I'm not a meme guy when it comes to the stuff I like to read or play. I like things to take themselves kind of seriously. Don't mind some comedy here and there, but I suppose I am, having grown up through a millennial education, sick and tired of millennial writing. There's a great video on YouTube that maybe we can watch and react to. I'm a React channel now, guys. Age of Sigmar, I actually went into a Games Workshop with my brother back in the day to have a test game of. And it was fun for 5 seconds. I don't know, guys. It's just, there is nothing quite like a setting with a lot of history behind it, Like, Warhammer Fantasy was the OG, it was the original setting. And there was so much lore and so much stuff behind it that you could do. This is the same issue I've got with Wizards of the Coast today. Wizards of the Coast is utterly destroying itself. It's got so much stuff. I mean, I'm wearing a Legend of Driz shirt right now. It's got so much stuff that it can do things with, and yet it just doesn't. I don't understand. Like, Disney as well, with like Star Wars and all the IPs under the sun that it greedily bought up a few years ago. It's got Marvel. You've got so much stuff, and yet how on earth do you mess up? Like, you've got this wealth of stuff you can do. Stuff. I'm saying stuff a lot. And yet, somehow, some way, you continue to fail. Oh! Well, look at that. For $2 dues, Mr. Jeff from Denkar over on Rumble with a Rumble Rant. Thank you very much, sir. I am curious about your feeling on settings, like my personal favorite riffs. They're a mix of high fantasy, high technology, and eldritch concepts. Well, I'm Midas II. Welcome. You have turned this stream to gold. Thank you. I have recently been playing a lot of Untold Destiny with one Mr. Dean Hill Jowett of Every Games. You can find it on my channel. He's often on Tittle on a Wednesday. And his setting was a fantasy setting which came out of a sci-fi idea. So when you... And usually I don't like space things in my fantasy game, I'm quite down to earth when it comes to my fantasy. I describe myself as being a traditionalist / mythological fantasy enjoyer. But the way Dean runs his world, it is growing on me. But I do like his ideas and the stuff he's come up with. And I'm going to go meet him in a city that is between our locations, because we're both from the UK, along with Brass. And we are going to have a little chat. I have... Brass and I, while we were in university together, we came up with a setting of our own. And I might try and use his rule set with that setting and see how martial I can make his system. Kind of not low fantasy, but mythological. We'll see how I go. So I am now more open to the idea of high fantasy and high technology and eldritch concepts mixing together, Jeffrem, but it is not my meat and potatoes. I am very much prefer a more grounded approach. The Black Colossus, for example, which is the most recent Conan story I read. Robert E. Howard is a good example of what I mean. Like, you've got this grounded idea of two armies clashing, but there is the sorcerer flying around on a demon chariot camel thing, who's come back from the dead. So that's what I would call sort of mythological fantasy, where the guys with the swords, with the armor, can still have an effect on the outcome. And it's not like a Diablo setting where the only way you're going to do anything is with this mass amount of heroic superhero magical power. That's very deep, Steve. They fail because they think they cannot fail. Your overconfidence will be your downfall. Your faith in your friends will be yours. I mixed up the lines there. I like when fantasy is made as a post-apo setting. Post-apo? Post-apocalyptic? Because that would be Untold Destiny, which Dean has been doing. Where am I? I was talking for a little while there, and I've missed some people in chat. They did have dedicated people to each faction. They dragged them out back after a major executive shift. Of course, the money's got the fucking... The suits. It's always the suits. It's always the suits, you know? Around the 2000s, all the creatives went to Forge World to get anything done. This is why I'm glad that I was only sort of on the periphery of Warhammer. I had some armies. I played every now and again, like once in every few months with some friends, because, you know, kids. I'm glad I was on the periphery. And then my hobby, Dungeons and Dragons, also went down the toilet about 10 years later. Oh, boy. I might have to look into this. The problem is, every time I say, oh, I need to look into this, I need to read that, that list gets very long. And I found that the more I do this, I am not as well read as I thought, even as I attempt to be. Wizard animation or Adventure? So Adventure Time is my wife likes Adventure Time, and she attempted to get me into it, and I watched the first episode, but it just wasn't for me. I think I was maybe a bit too old for it. I mean, I used to like SpongeBob growing up. Now when I see SpongeBob, it just grates on me. Did I get old and jaded? Is that what happened to me? Can I no longer enjoy things? You know what, chaps? There's a couple of us in here. There's 11 people watching on YouTube right now. I'm going to ask a favor. I am putting in chat the YouTube link. If you wouldn't mind going and spamming that to a server you're in or a friend that you think would like the stream, let's get some more people in. We'll have a more in-depth chat about things. Here's another thing. Like, I recently got over the 800 subscriber hurdle, and I think I've now dipped below the 800 again. I'm on 801 from my point of view here. So it's like the constant... It's Twitter as well is weird with it, or X. Formerly known as Twitter, x.com. And it's... everything jumps around. You'd think tracking an integer would be really, really simple, especially in 2025, the year of our Lord, AD, and Domini. But no, it jumps around. I think it might be all the bots, dropping off. The idea might be showing after massive nuclear reset. So, Midas, it looks to me like you would actually... I'm going to post another thing in chat specifically for you, Midas. In fact, rather than me post it in chat, let me take you somewhere. Here we are. I'll post it in chat, but I'm also going to stick it on screen for you. So, this is Every Games over on X. The wife is in chat. Hello, wife. Everyone behave. The mod wife is in chat. There you go. That is Every Games. This is Dean's company. I think this account is ran by his wife, Vicky. Lovely lady. He's also been on Tittle. They've created Untold Destiny. Untold Destiny the main setting for that, if I move myself here, maybe the main setting for that has. Can I do something? I think the chat just means that it is very difficult for me to be able to have my face. That'll do. Untold Destiny is a game that is fantasy, but it's come out of a sci-fi apocalypse. There's something called the Ashfall. In fact, the first couple sessions we had is we went into a pre-Ashfall dungeon, which is basically an industrial complex from the sci-fi civilization that fell. And out of the fall of this civilization, I don't know too much because I'm still discovering the setting myself as we play through it. Out of the fall of this civilization, Aether happens and gods rose out of it. And I highly actually recommend giving Untold Destiny a follow. Because they've got some really nifty ideas. And Dean and Vicky are both great people. Like that, I think they had their 28th anniversary on stream here a couple of weeks ago. Was it 28th or 18? I think it was 28th. Great people. I do like seeing good friends of mine now. Actually, I would count them as. Yeah, no, I appreciate every share, Midas. Woman is present. Hide the miniatures. That's my wife. Don't worry, she's probably a bigger nerd than you. You don't need to hide your miniatures. When I get new people into Rifts, I limit everything and ease them into it. Normally the best way to do it. I prefer starting slow and small. I don't know. I think if I was to... My perfect system... I enjoy Untold Destiny immensely. There are things I think I will do to it once he is done writing the rules properly. There are things I think I will do to it to make it fit what I want it to do. But it's the way he has written it appears to be so modular is that I probably could just homebrew it to hell and make it entirely different. What do I want out of a system? That's the thing. Like, I want a soft magic system, which immediately is going to ruin people. Because the moment you take a lot of in this corner of the internet where there's a lot of people that talk about TTRPGs, role-playing games, the moment you start talking about removing crunch, people get a little bit suspicious of you and start thinking you're some sort of casual, filthy casuals. Vampire hunting in Mexico. There was a really interesting series of books I read as a teenager where it was a Victorian setting, I believe, but they went to South America and they released a vampire god, which then sent vampires to London. That was all very funny. You have your world and writing for players, and that's something. Well, she is also a player of mine. Define soft magic system. So, I suppose... Do we count The Lord of the Rings as a narratively soft magic system? I tend to, but I'm not sure how accurate that actually is. Because The Lord of the Rings magic... Fare thee well indeed, damnedest bastard. Enjoy your dinner. Save some for me. Fantastic. Thank you. I don't know, I like the idea of magic being more malleable than lightning bolt. Lightning bolt! Not to say that I don't like lightning bolt. Vancian magic is interesting and good, but when you look at actual esoteric traditions throughout real history, a lot of it is systematized, but a lot of it isn't. And if you look at especially modern interpretations of magic, whether that be the modern goth girls cosplaying as as witches, etc., or you go back into the 20th century, you look at like Theosophy and things like that. You get these very disparate views of what magic actually is, and it kind of calls back to this ritualized human experience that has existed since time immemorial, part of our ancestry, you know. So in flexible magic, you got to remember, I'm talking narratively more than rules here. I've sort of slipped into my writing brain. And I wouldn't know how to best express the magic that I enjoy reading and writing about as a system of rules for a tabletop. Magic as a... How do I lack the vocabulary to express the idea that is in my head? If you, for example, take the way the Ring of Fire that Gandalf wears, if you take that as an example, because he has the ability to kindle hope, like the flame of hope, not just like actual fire, but the flame of hope in people's hearts. And that's one of the reasons the Fellowship kind of fell apart after he died, is because he was no longer able to keep the flame of hope going within the Fellowship. That kind of thing. Like there is a... tell you what, shall I open up my Roll20 game? And I will get my item description up. I actually spoke to the Runesmith about this on stream and privately a while ago. This started as a Tyranny of Dragons game, and we went way off the rails, and now it's just whatever I want game. Right, where is it? Nope, don't want that. Let's get rid of all that. I think it's in Milo's stuff. So let me just get rid of the menu here and bring this here, and I'll put it on screen. Here we are. So again, I use a little bit of AI to make this, just because it made things easier on me. This is the Star Sapphire. It is a callback to another campaign that I did, where they used a sapphire to create items to beat the BBEG. But this one, it's a legendary artifact. It's only usable by people of good alignment, because I think alignment is actually important mechanically. And any creature of evil alignment with less than 100 hit points that lays hold of the gem directly takes 10d10 plus 10 radiant damage. So the idea is using mechanics to express a narrative idea, which I know is the basics of the entire idea of RPGs. If you listen to Rob Kuntz speak, one of the original designers for Dungeons & Dragons back in the day, he talks about concept first. So you're a concept designer before you're a mechanical designer. But there's a lot of things this particular gem can do. Yeah, I've got a bit of fluff text to it. So it naturally sheds all the time bright blue light for 10 feet and dim light for another 10 feet. So they keep it... It's now atop the Halfling Sorcerer's staff, but they kept it covered in darkness to hide themselves. When held aloft in the command word of Aluile, which is Tolkienian Elvish, I think it just means starshine or starlight, is spoken as an action, it shall increase in brightness, shedding bright starlight for 40 feet and dim starlight for a further 40 feet. The light of the sapphire dispels magical darkness, which is useful because there's a lot of things casting darkness on them, and triggers sunlight sensitivity, which is a downside because there are 2 drow elves in the party with sunlight sensitivity. The effect lasts until the gem is lowered, or for up to 1 minute. It takes at least 1 hand to use the gem, although now it is attached to the halfling's staff. They went on a quest to find some magical wood to make it easier to use. Friendly creatures of good alignment within the 40 feet of bright starlight are immune to paralysis, or are cured of paralysis if they are already suffering from the condition. this is a callback to a mechanic where they BBG of my other campaign had a paralyzing effect within, I think, 30 to 40 feet of her, which was a nearly impossible DC. Not completely impossible, but nearly impossible DC to not be paralyzed by her. And so they took a sapphire and they carved rings out of this sapphire over a period of like a whole day of ritual. And these rings enabled them to resist that paralysis effect and fight the bad guy. Friendly creatures of good alignment within 40 feet of bright starlight are immune to frightened or accused of frightened if they're already suffering condition, blah, 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 blah. They're fighting dragons. This is a dragon fear nullifier. So that's what that is for in terms of mechanics. Friendly creatures, and this is where it gets kind of. This is my hope. This is my hope as Kindle version. So trying to take a concept and express it as a mechanic. Friendly creatures of good alignment within the 40 feet excuse me, of bright starlight receive the Hope is Kindled condition. The creature has advantage on all attack rolls made that turn, and all its spells receive a +3 to their spell save DC. The condition lasts until the creature uses its action to attack or cast a spell. So it basically means that every party member, if they want to do something big, should do it then, as long as they're a good alignment. And actually, there's only a couple of them now that are actually good aligned. I believe both Drow are neutral. And the companion, like the hireling they've got with them, the cleric is good, the paladin is good, and the sorcerer is good. So, there are 3 out of 5 characters that are actually going to benefit from this. If the creature in possession of this item commits an evil act, it must succeed on a DC 18 wisdom saving throw or become both frightened and paralyzed for 1 minute. During this minute, the creature's mind is transported within the gem, where they must atone for their transgressions. This atonement is left to the GM's discretion and can include death. It can only be used once every 24 hours. So that's something that that's kind of how I took a soft magic concept of an item that is supposed to prevent evil and also empower good. But that's within 5th edition, which isn't actually the easiest thing to do, I suppose. I apologize, I wasn't looking at chat. What did I miss? You should not. If basic human drama can be fixed with magic, I dislike the magic system. You should not be able to summon rations to treat the party, make rations and foraging worthless. It's funny you should say that, because in Brass's current campaign, he has banned things like blueberry because it takes away from the survival aspect. One of the issues that I'm about to run into in my Untold Destiny game, playing as Endurian the Wizard, is I have no food. My path back is cut off, and I am now stuck in the wilderness with no food. I'm not exactly a foraging character. So there's things like that. Let's have a go. Let's see this one. We've still got a few people. We're maintaining the stream at a steady rate. I will quit crying about sharing the link when we've got 100 people watching. It's my fault. My mic is cutting a bit. Oh dear. Sometimes it does that. I have to get really close to it, kind of caress it, let it know that I love it. I have got a problem with tech. My tech is old. My rig is pretty new. And again, that's a year and a half old now. But my microphone, headphones, chair, keyboard and mouse, they may as well be ancient. Jeff from Halfling got a 34 plus. Jeff from, wasn't it you Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't it you that nailed a character to Yggdrasil or something, and then that backfired on you, and all of a sudden, you had this god character wandering around. It's the Redcoat. Hello, Redcoat. He's my little brother. You okay, my dear?
Your mic is cutting as you're saying your mic is cutting.
Great. Is it okay now?
I don't know. I came to tell you because there's like a delay.
Like a delay. Well, hopefully chat will allow me to, will tell me if there's things that are cutting in and out. Ooh, do you need me to hide the camera a little bit? No?
I checked where it was.
You check where it was?
Yeah.
The wife is,
Nope.
Hey, I enjoyed it. $11 of you. 10 of you. Bloody hell, it's warm. Right, what else? What else we doing, chaps? You've all died. Has my stream died? What else is dead? The mic is better when you look to our left. Probably when I'm, facing the mic. Shall I bring it closer to me? Hello? Yes, that is effective modding. She is just in the bedroom. We fell asleep in the heat earlier on. It's actually gone past midnight for us now, and I do have to work this morning. Have I checked out Ardenfall yet? I downloaded the demo. I did indeed download the demo. Haven't actually played it. There you go. So, it's that story, Jeffrem, that makes me feel less bad about giving my players powerful things. Because at least I didn't turn one into a god. Hello? Taps mic. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Hello? Stand by. Technical difficulties. You were left alone for too long, so I wrote so many things for my campaign. One of my players asked me to stop developing current plot. Here's a question for you then, chat. When you're in an RPG, do you like plot to develop quickly or slowly, or do you... Because the way I play it is quite often the world continues around the players as they're doing their things and going about. But I don't particularly want to focus on plot all the time. I would much rather have a group that pursues a goal they select for themselves. But my group isn't conducive to it a lot of the time. They like to hop on the choo-choo train and go on the railroad. I know, it's terrible. One device he created was a 4-bar derringer that shot miniature black holes. It was rules legal, by the way, and took a year to put together. I don't care how rules legal that is. That is going to be stolen by an imp in the dead of night, and he'll never see it again. But how do we define the plot developing naturally? This is something I've been thinking about. Emergent gameplay. If you go and talk to Grok right now, and you say, Grok, I want you to give me a story of a knight slaying a dragon, saving a princess. It will not be able to follow story beats. It will not be able to give you a naturally flowing story. Some people are saying the audio is fine, therefore it is not my fault. In a game at the table, yeah. So, I'll put it this way. In my Varfal campaign, I had a villain in the kingdom operating, and the party was introduced to this villain Session 0 through several different means. Oh, you wrote some effed up things? Don't worry, man, we've all been there. We've all written some fucked up shit in our time. Don't worry about it. You'll grow out of it. It's just a phase. So, I don't know what I'm trying to express. Again, the brain is not functioning. It's too warm. But naturalistic plot to me, this is going to harken back to a discussion from long ago, goes back to simulation. And I'm not a one-to-one time guy. I'm not an AD&D guy. But Gygax was right that if you don't keep calendar and you don't keep time, a lot of the natural plot, such as it is, that comes forth, is difficult to maintain. I kind of see where he's coming from, although I think you can kind of trick the world into continuing with that naturalistic evolution without needing to be so strict with the calendar, but that's neither here nor there. The thing with a naturalistic expansion of plot is, let's take my current Tyranny of Dragons campaign. Brass's character was a paladin, simple premise backstory of noble, family sword, stolen by a dragon. I want to go and get it back out of the dragon's hoard. This Sunday, actually just gone, that paladin finally got its sword back. But this campaign's been going for over a year. That was a character backstory and a plot point far flung into the future. Everything that happened between A and B was a great big squiggly line of a mess where, you know, they saved Greeness, they went and conquered Dragonspear, lots of characters died along the way, they're heroes in several areas, they've got their own domain. So there's all these things that have happened along the way from A to B to get the sword back. That is technically a natural plot. But a lot of it was me dangling hooks. There wasn't really much in the way of, I want to go here or there. The one time they wanted to go somewhere specifically, they wanted to go north to Waterdeep. But I had already decided before they told me that the world had developed in such a way that a quest that had gone, not undone, but had been left till later because they didn't feel confident in pursuing it, had evolved into a more regional threat. There was a Death Knight in the woods. That Death Knight in the woods is now a Death Knight with a horde of undead squatting in the north of their kingdom, trying to fight a green dragon so that it can have a mount. So there is now a war between two evil factions at the north of their domain, and they have instead had to go south to Baldur's Gate, and that's where I threw in, hey, the sword's over here, and they've gone and killed the dragon, got the sword back, and now they've got the Holy Sword, not a Holy Avenger, not quite that powerful. They've got a Holy Sword that are back off north to go and fight this Death Knight. How natural is this plot development? I've put in pieces, yes, but a little bit of it was contrived by DM because my party isn't really an instigating party. They're just not. So, you know, it's where do you go? Like, what is a natural plot evolution? Is plot ever natural, or do we simply overlay meaning onto events that have happened? Or am I overthinking this and overcomplicating it? It's very possible that I'm doing that. I do that a lot. Oh, speaking of Brass, he released a really cool video yesterday, late last night, on Silver Dragons, where there is actually a story at the start where he's role-playing out a conversation between a silver dragon and the descendant of a silver dragon's friend. And it's really interesting. That's good plot. Not a natural plot. Like, it's all smoke and mirrors at the end of the day. We're not at a point where we can, I think, convincingly have a simulation go through. Cider will bring clarity to everything. In my experience, Yang, cider does not bring clarity. Cider brings headaches. Certain activities I have done with the wife after a lot of cider has resulted in clarity. So that's the thing. The Paladin Steve, the way you phrase that, do events feel like they're occurring normally or being served on a silver platter? Everything do events feel like is where you can stop with that, and then you can ignore the rest of your question. Do events feel like? And it is all about that feeling. It's about how the mind interprets the event. So you're not playing a story. Look, don't judge me. You're my wife, and you're surprised that I brag about the things that I have done with the wife. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you're hot, and I don't deserve you, and and now I have bragging rights. It's smoke and mirrors, Steve. It feels over everything. Unfortunately so, Yang. Unfortunately so. You know, the no facts don't care about your feelings here. He's got off script. It's Feifel. Hi, Feifel. How are we diddling? I see my threats were successful in getting you to make more elf art. Don't make me threaten you again. But I honestly think, in terms of the way we pursue story, story itself is about feelings. Even ancient historians, like when I was reading and watching some stuff on the First and Second Samnite Wars between Rome and Samnium before Rome was conquered the entirety of the Italian peninsula. The accounts, is it Livy, I think, gives of the First Samnite War, they have story beats because he's telling a mythology of the Romans' victory. He's not... Yes, the events happened. Rome beat Samnium in a war. We know that happened. But the actual intricacies of how it happened are embellished a tad, because we as humans take an event and we put something else over it. We overlay our own meaning onto it. And we've done it forever. Do you pursue story, or does story pursue you? It entirely depends on how you want to feel about that. Oh no, let's change the music up. Let's have some dancing, girls. There's a lot of psychological stuff that you can go into with this kind of thing, you know? Like the man that goes and slays the dragon to save the princess, you know, the story of St. George is old. Like the archetypal... I'm getting into some Jungian stuff here. I'm not even a massive fan of Jung. The archetypal points of that, the man going out to slay and to bring back, that is probably a story as old as humans, where you have us huddled around a campfire, and Glug the caveman that tells Gorg the other caveman he met his wife after he killed a ferocious creature, which was a bear, and then he saved his wife Ugla from it. And that story gets told again and again and again, and gets overlaid with meaning, and becomes an archetypal template for how we run modern societies, where you have this idea of the strong man rescuing the woman from a monster. It's the story that you and your players tell at the table, period. Yeah, I get it right. But when we say we tell a story at the table, what's actually happening is we're generating outcomes with dice, and then we overlay a story onto those outcomes. So when the mechanics that are being there are concepts swords, sorcery, combat being expressed through numerical mechanics with the rolling of dice and the limitations of movement speeds and saving throws and all the rest of that. And then that leads to outcomes which have meaning then laid onto them by the people around the table. So there's lots of steps. This all happens really quickly, but there's lots of steps that we need to go through to get from, I played my fighter, killed the orc, and saved the princess, to I rolled some dice. So yeah, it's communal storytelling. I find it fascinating. That's all I'm going to say. And I lack the education and vocabulary to properly express my fascination. Ashray, welcome. Welcome indeed. Goodbye, Midas. Thank you for coming, sir. Man, we went deep. We went deep. My head hurts. The last time that Vix and I sat around a campfire was right before COVID hit. It was 2020, February, just after Valentine's Day. We were in the mountains in California with her grandfather and some of her other family members, and we were making s'mores, which was quite fun. And you see, Ashray is like taken several steps away and has immediately jumped into now I am roleplaying. Which, if you think about it, is just evolved drama. And drama itself is quite ancient. The idea of storytelling is very complicated. It's so natural to us. I think mostly because all children play games where, I'm cops and robbers or Indians and cowboys or whatever. Like children tell each other stories, and they agree to share a fiction for a limited amount of time without having to. When we play as kids, or even as adults, I suppose, we agree to take part in a shared lie, a shared fiction, where we put aside, or should, for healthy reasons, put aside what is actually real and true, and instead experience a self-contained existence. And then the meanings that come out of that, I suppose, are we eisegeting or are we exegeting? Yeah, there's some theology thrown in for you. If anyone could tell me without Googling what eisegesis and exegesis mean, you get a gold star. Don't Google. Savo. I'm terrible at chess because I use 90% of my brain power to invent a narrative that explains what's happening on the board. Always tragic, as it happens. You're not actually alone there. I do the same thing. I'm terrible at chess because I'm actually thinking in terms of the knights charging. And the mechanics of the game do a bad job at at giving out that conceptual part of it. Which is weird, because now we're back to talking about Total War, because I was playing Rome 2 Total War earlier on. Reinstalled it, played it, remembered why I hated it, uninstalled it, because it's funny, the more analogous a 3D environment is to reality, the more work it has to do to maintain the suspension of disbelief and immersion. Oh boy, we're getting some... Guys, I'm bringing out my education. And so I'll put it this way. So in Daggerfall, there's a pixelated bat. I swing a pixelated sword, and I take it at face value. The game has given me enough distance between graphics and imagination for my brain to do the rest. Because in my brain, it's like, but in my brain, it's more like die bat. But when playing Rome, and I see all the battle lines kind of get confused and muddled, and no one maintains formation, all of a sudden, that is incredibly disconcerting. Whereas if I look at some nice miniatures on a tabletop, all in ranked up and in rows, my brain does everything for me. There is no better graphics card or processor than this. Oh boy, am I talking about things that are a little too complicated, a little too deep, maybe? There's an easy way of answering that. Have we lost lots of people? Yes, we did. I so easily lean into being mildly dastardly and pragmatically evil. My Ashray is a noble Lothian who was trained in diplomacy to secure trade routes for the city in the Underdark. That's cool. I like that. But you'll never be as dastardly as... Is it Dastardly Dan from Wacky Races? That old Hanna-Barbera cartoon? Right. By the way, chaps, if you're not already, please do like the stream. I do appreciate that sort of support. It makes things very good for me. And if you know someone you think would like the content, do tell them to subscribe to the channel, because I don't want to dip below that 800 mark. I want to keep the upward momentum going. I want to be on 1,000 subs before the end of 25. I definitely want to be on 1,000 subs before my kid is born. Because the plan is for this to be sort of a supplemental income, and hopefully that will ease some of the woes of having to pay for a child. All right, that's rather dastardly. I agree. Is my mic cutting out again? It appears to be, at least from mine. What if I was to just talk like this the entire time and just have my eyes over the rim of the thing? Do you like it when I talk into the mic like this? We're now an ASMR stream. Sit back, relax, close your eyes. Imagine a happy place. I am so hot as to be delirious. It is very warm. Indeed. Can YouTube cover diapers? Only time will tell. You see, that's one Americanism I don't mind. Diapers. Because over here, in Old Blighty, they are called nappies. And I always thought that was a silly word. Oh, I understand that, Steve. Don't get me wrong. I'm a traditional man in that sense. The child will pay me back for all of this one day. What if I want to go to the demon web pits, Ashray? Jeff from Denka, we slowly watch Jack become Alex Jones of the classic games community. I'm not sure I get that. I'm not sure I understand, sir. Oh boy. I have very much changed the tone of this stream by moving away from storytelling mechanics, haven't I? You know, I am impressed that people are still here, because I like I say, I had no plan for this. I'm merely here to pass a little bit of time until the heat breaks a little bit more, and then I will go to bed. You know, well, speaking of ASMR, Jack, did you guys catch my latest video? The reason I keep bringing it up is because I'm quite proud of my performance. Squeaky. It's strange, Michael. I'll answer that question in just a moment. That's an interesting question. The video I've recently released is I tried to make it a little ASMR, I guess. Where it's got, you know, you're in a tavern in the rain, and there's a snap, crackling fire, and you're listening to me tell you about an island that you're heading to. And I think people seem to have enjoyed it. It's doing well. I don't know how well at present. Shall I have a look? Oh, we've gained a couple subscribers from this stream. Bloody hell. It's on 423 views, 54 likes. Watch time I don't pay any attention to because no one's got any attention span. Oh, Hobgoblin. Ooh. But which streams tend to do best for me? Tittle does well, but I think that's because Tittle is a weekly thing most of the time, apart from when I've missed a week here and there. And people tend to tune in for the panels, I think, not necessarily for me. I have seen, actually, of late, people have made videos responding to some episodes of Talking in the Library. People I don't know. I got linked a couple over this week, which is really bizarre to see that, you know, my little corner over here is getting some attention. But then again, I say it's bizarre to see the Runesmith came on here, and he's, you know, 500,000 subs, and probably more important than that is I've had some incredibly talented people on, such as Mr. Richard Withers. Like Withers, he was on before I had Restream set up, before I had things looking kind of semi-professional. He was on when I was doing just random streams at random times on X. So, you know, there's the little community that has kind of formed around several nexuses that I'm involved in is quite nice. You got the Elfmaids Discord server. If you're not on that, let me know and I can drop a link into the chat. You've got Nerd Cognito, obviously, for all the bad rep that we get over there. They have, you know, there is a dedicated fan base there. Some of them are here. And then I've also produced, there's also a large audience growing here. So I think I've gone way off. It depends on the night, on who we get. At the moment, I'm too small, Michael, to be able to give you a good number. Like, I have done one of these streams before with Brass, where I was just chatting away, no real plan, and we made a lot of money off of it for some reason. And today I'm doing another chat like this, very similar time, and I've made $2. So it really depends. Tittle will usually bring in about 20 to 30 a week. And of course, these numbers need to go up a little bit to be able to afford the kid. I make no bones with the fact that I want to make this into a supplementary income. And that's why I push the marketing so hard, despite certain personalities not enjoying it. Richard is indeed a gem, sir. You know what, Jeffram? You might get that. I might one day run a couple one-shots on the channel. A Drow Spelljammer pirate game could be fun. And I could do it in such a way that a one-shot, or maybe a couple one-shots, would be quite easy. I am still trying to work on a module. The only problem is I get too ambitious, and it's kind of ballooning out of my control. I'm working on Grundle Skulls still. Michael Dale, aren't you a sweetheart? Correction, $4. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But I am attempting to... Where was I? Yes, I'll be honest, Steve. The reason Business Elf hasn't been as excited as of late is over July, I found something in the algorithm which boosted me massively, and that was the Elves and Bikinis month. But now I'm trying to... So I brought in an extra 2,700, 2,700 odd people through X in 1 month. But I'm very wary of burst growth being unsustainable, by which I mean, to use a biblical phrase, scattering my seed amongst rocky soil or where thorns will choke it out. I kind of need now to find people that are genuinely interested in the stuff that I'm interested in and want to watch and want to interrogate ideas more than they want to be entertained. I'll do entertainment. I got to. It's part of the game, you know? But if I want to sit down for a long stream, and it's coming, I've got a good panel planned for a future stream where I want to sit down and I want to talk about really complicated, really deep ideas. A lot of people lack the attention span for that to be viable. So there's, the way I see it, if I was looking at numbers earlier on, actually, to go back a little bit to Michael's question. I am not putting goblins in lingerie. Goblins are not for laying, they're for slaying. That's the thing, like, yeah, the boobs was it. And that's what I mean, is like, I've now got that kind of audience. You know, I played the Law of Averages game when I did the Elves and Bikinis month, because it was like, get as many people in as possible and shove better content at them underneath the boobs. So, yeah, I am completely honest with the fact that, yeah, it was a Law of Averages thing. The more people you get looking at that, the more likely they are to look at the thing next to it and engage with it. And it has worked out quite well. But in terms of... I find that I don't do politics, but I find the most number of views I've had is when I have decried political influence in TTRPGs. What are you doing, cat? You best behave yourself. And you'll find that a lot of people actually come for the anti-woke idea. Like, they think I'm going to be this anti-woke streamer, this anti-woke content creator. I'm not. I am also not a slop kind of guy. I've lowered myself to it because there are sacrifices that need to be made in order for my actually good stuff. And I personally, I think I make good stuff. Just putting it out there. To go out and say things. But another thing that I can do is talk about current events. But the issue with talking about current events is... Yes, there you go. My wife's posting boobs in the chat. There you go. The issue with talking about current events is you have to then chase the next one. So what I'm attempting to build here is finding people that can sit still and pay attention, which is proving to be incredibly difficult because the entire time I'm competing with these Zoomers coming up who grow incredibly quickly and have editing that must take them hours and hours and hours to do. But it's like there's a cut every second. There's a new image. There's a new sound effect. There's all these things moving across the screen. There's flashing lights. And it's, look at this. Attention, attention, attention. Jangling keys. Keys. And I don't want an audience that needs to have the same kind of babysitting as school children. Yeah, if they, yeah, that's true. If they like one of the elf pictures, they will they'll see more of the tweets. You're correct. And every tweet has a link to another piece of content, and it's all about trying my damnedest to say, hey, look, you've seen the boobs. Yes, we both like elf boobs. We've bonded over that, yeah? Well, now we're friends, so now you got to click the link below. And it has worked to an extent. Yeah, brain rot, very much. That is definitely the word I would use, my love. Back in my day, we called it YouTube poop. So, again, I think one of the issues is, and I'm guilty of this as well, people don't read. Squirrel! Where? People don't read. I don't read nearly as much as I used to, or as much as I should. So right now, we've kind of hovered between like 8 and 11 people, 9 to 11 people this entire stream. That 9 is more valuable to me than the, thousands of people that have followed me over on X over the last month. Because that 9 is actually going to... Philip McKelf, thank you for being here. Didn't even realize you were here till you said goodbye. Cheery bye. Have you found a best practice to get X users out of the app and into Usentuben? Not particularly. I'm pretty sure it was me that was pressuring you to add to the elf boob. Like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying sexy fantasy art. The issue is then trying to get someone to participate in something a little bit deeper. Yeah, short form content has destroyed everyone's attention span. You're right, my love. And yet there are loads of long form content that does really well. And I don't really want to do the short or the long form. I just want to be able to say, hey, this is an interesting point. There's a YouTuber called Lindy Beige who's been doing it for years that does it incredibly well. You know what? I'll take that. That's a nice thing to say. Thank you, Feifel. Vix inspires me. You can start reading again, Jack, with the Starlight and Shadows trilogy. I will get to it! Stop bullying me. I am the bully, not the bullied. I will eventually get to it. I've got a reading list as long as my arm, now that I've started doing all this sort of stuff. Did I just get something else that came through? Did Jeffrey ask a question? Honest opinion, I do think there are more good drow in the Forgotten Realms and elsewhere in D&D than good orcs. At least the drow have one good goddess. Based to take. I don't even know what based means. Something you do with turkeys. I'll be honest, when young people... I'm old. When young people say based, do you know what I think of? And be prepared, for this is the deep magic. When a young person says based, all I can think is going back to Rome Total War, the original Rome Total War. Almighty Pharaoh demands all your base are belong to us. Oh, I'm gonna have to re-download that game. Based. Brilliant. Oh! People forget there are far more than just Drizzt, but because there are so few, it makes the good ones far more interesting. That's very true. Shall I go and get my evergreen article that I wrote years ago at this point about the necessity of evil in fantasy and the experiences of Drizzt Do'Urden? Maybe I should just make a video about that. Transform it into a video. Here's a question for you then, Ashray, Jeffram. Jarlaxle Bay Henry. Good drow or not? And I suppose after I get an answer to that question, I'll have to think about winding down. Michael says no. I actually played a little bit of Hordes of the Underdark back in the day. But a lot of my time spent in Neverwinter Nights was actually effing around in like multiplayer RP servers. Those were good times. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I should. I was kind of thinking what I should do this week for a video. Maybe I shall do that. Well, okay. I guess that settles that. Everyone's like, yeah, you should make that video, so I shall make that video. Maybe I'll do it in my new style, but throw some images on board to, jangle the keys a little bit for the zoomers. Good is indeed pushing it. One thing that I remember most about Jalaxel, and the last time I read anything with him in it, was the Sellswords trilogy. And minor spoilers, but he is still a worshipper of Lolth in that trilogy. He just has a more nuanced understanding of chaos than Murder Death Hobo. You fell in love with Lyriel. Well, falling in love with fictional characters is not recommended. The birth rates are already screwed. Right. We are coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning. I do have to go to work in a couple hours, so I should probably attempt to get some sleep. If you've enjoyed this stream, dude, please do give it a like, share it about, subscribe. And you know what? There's a few of you here, right? There's 9 of you here, and there's 3 of you over on Rumble. If you feel so inclined, I would highly appreciate you take my YouTube channel link specifically. In fact, let me get you a specific link. This specific link that I'm popping into chat, if you copy paste that specific link, what this does is when you click on it and you're not subscribed, it automatically says, do you want to subscribe? I know it's kind of shady practice, but this actually does up subscription click-through rate, but I think by something like 10 to 12%. If you could go ahead and share that link around, and maybe specifically to a couple of close friends, people you know well, and then maybe ask them to pass it along as well. Because the mission now is, young family trying to create an extra revenue stream through YouTube advertising. Costs them and you nothing, but could mean the world to me. That sounds really emotionally manipulative, but it is actually true. So there you are. The 9 of you that are watching, I would appreciate you going on that quest to send forth my YouTube channel with that link specifically into the ether to people you know and love, to people you trust, people you think would fit my desired audience of people that would pay attention and appreciate thinking more deeply about these matters. And then eventually, once we get a good percentage of my audience that is able to think, there is a specific, and I do mean specific content that I want, or question that I want to approach. And that is how one, or some, maybe I can teach, I guess. I think I have this ability to an extent. Can one remove oneself from one's own self in order to critically examine why one thinks the way one does, and then to once more remove oneself again through several degrees to critically examine why one is critically examining oneself without becoming a postmodernist and going mad. And it's, we sort of, like an ogre, like onions, peel back the layers. No, I appreciate that, Ashray. Jeffrem, I appreciate the share on X, but I'm looking for a more personable audience. So if you've got a particular friend in mind that you think would gain something, do give him that link that I've put in chat. And now that I've emotionally manipulated you all into doing my bidding, there is one more thing, actually. One more... I know I keep saying I'm going to stop. General opinions on YouTube memberships. Are YouTube memberships worth it? Because people have asked me to start up YouTube channel memberships for this channel. And I am now getting YouTube pushing something to me where they will double my money if I hit a certain revenue in YouTube memberships, which would actually help out my financial situation quite a bit. But I've always said I don't want to do YouTube memberships until I feel the content is worth someone's money. So I'm at an impasse because there is the need for me to create a cash flow, and also the need for me to maintain some of my integrity, which I also gave up by posting loads of AI elf boobs everywhere. So what do? I appreciated bills when we got modules. That's the thing, like I could make Grundleskull the module, but Grim Jim? I haven't spoken to Grim Jim in a little while, actually. It would be good to say hi to him. He and I disagree on an awful lot, but we do get on. He's a good chap. The AI elf boobs you posted only proved you had integrity. Oh, Jeffrem, I love you. In fact, Jeffrem Dankang. Ah, thank you, mate. I appreciate the post. But yeah, maybe I should consider more closely. Oh, had integrity. Had. You're right there, Michael. Look, man. Gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelette, you know? I'll mess around with the idea of memberships then. Oh, graph paper. Bloody hell, where have you been? Thought you dropped off the face of the planet. Oh, you just got off work and caught this, did you? Well, since you're here, you can take that link specifically right there and share it around. There's a good lad. Oh, you've caught me as I am logging off, though, GPA, because it is 1 a.m. I have work in the morning. I bet if you did a pixely elf boob VTube shtick, you could catch the Zoomers. Yeah, but I'd have a male voice behind it. So who knows? The thing with the VTube community is, like, the audience is nearly 100% male. And male VTubers have it very bad. Plus... amazingly, I interact with a lot of ladies through this medium. It's very definitely, don't get me wrong, it's like 80 to 85% male audience. But there's quite a few women that come by. I mean, there's one. And the wife was in here as well. So, yeah, there's at least 2. Out of an audience of 10. Right. I keep saying that I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. Guys, do please share the link about, because it does help me an awful lot. And if you think my content is worth that little bit of effort, I do appreciate you getting in touch with someone you think would find this edifying. And as Feifel said earlier on,